all ready for the same presentation again. I'm Monica, and this is obviously about my senior internship. So how did I find my mentor? One name, Brian Cerny, is really what I could answer that question to. I wanted to do my internship at home in Hawaii, and I tried to make contact with interpreters there, and also interpreters that were working at the University of Hawaii, and nobody got back to me. And the University of Hawaii told me, oh, hey, why don't you come back and check at the end of January, beginning of February. And I told them that can't happen. I need to know now so I know where I'm living. So Brian also convinced me to do it here, and he heard that there was a spin meeting happening at RIT about mentors, and that is where I met Heather. And I don't know if Chris Kelly was there just yet, but I remember hearing her name from a previous Hika student who did an internship with Chris. And so a few weeks later, Brian came back and said, yep, these are your two mentors, Chris and Heather, and you're all set. So thank you, Brian. All right, how many hours did I complete? I completed a total of 345 hours with 64A, 216B, and 65C.
What's the picture?
Oh, this is a picture of my sister, Alex. Okay. A picture of my sister and I. We had the opportunity to go down to Florida and to Disney World for like a mini vacation, and Devin also got to join us, and we got to interpret the entire trip that we were there, which counted for most of my 8 hours because my sister's deaf herself. So I just made the 8 hours for myself. I talked to Brian and I talked to Chris and Heather, and they were like, yeah, I mean, you have hands up, you're interpreting shows, rules, bus rides, breakfast, lunch, and dinner orders that she wanted to eat, just literally everything. Devin and I were her interpreters. And that's a safari ride that we went on. So yeah, I just explained Disney World. I also did hotel check-ins. After my time in Florida, my sister actually goes to Gallaudet, and I got to spend a week there and take her and some of her friends to museums and interpret the museums that were happening. I also got to do some Gallaudet classes, which I'll explain more because it has to do with one of my bad experiences. And sometimes when an appointment was lasting over the designated time for the interpreter to be there, Heather allowed me to do some checkout appointments, saying, you know, just to set up when they're coming back for their next appointment, and, you know, what day would they like, what time would they like, just a little bit of that. These might be hours. Meeting with my mentor and my mentor group to discuss what we just previously did and who we just met and what we would like to go see. Also the debriefs with other interpreters after observations, to tell them what I saw, what I learned, what I liked, what other classes do you have that I could come and observe. Prep material and some practicing. Heather gave us wonderful practicing materials for ourselves. She gave us some NIC prep material. She also gave us OIC movies, which is movies presented in sign language to help you practice your voicing. And I did that, and I would send them to her, and then we would sit down and we would discuss the things that she liked out of it, what I could improve on, just things like that. Also meeting agencies and VRS to talk about what they do and what they're looking for and who they're looking for and any requirements that they may have.
What does NIC mean?
Um,
That's not a test. If you don't, I can tell you, but so National Interpreting Certification.
that, yes.
So what is it? I mean, if you get study materials for the NIC, what does that mean?
It's to become certified and to take your test to.
Were they practice videos or was it written material? What kind of practice stuff?
Oh, it was written material of what they were about. Like the information about like what you should add or what to do in a medical situation, court legal situation, an educational setting, just everything. They were little short, brief, one page and a half information of what is kind of expected of the interpreter in those given settings, along with billing information of how you would bill if you were a freelance interpreter. So just kind of that stuff. And websites to go from there to get your practice material for the NIC written that most of us need to take. So the websites were helpful with practice tests to prepare you for that. NC hours, a lot were RIT classes, which is great because they have probably 100 to 150 interpreters on their campus. So I got to meet a wide range of interpreters there. Court, medical, business, meetings, things in the community. So yeah. How did I strengthen my connection with the deaf community? Well, conversations before and after the assignments and appointments allowed me to interact with the deaf consumers themselves and get to know them, not for the reason why they are there or what they need to have done, but just a conversation like, hey, I really like your skirt. Where did you get it from? And then that just led on to other things to talk about, like places you like to travel or your favorite place you went to, or you have 7 dogs, or whatever it may be. Also, I had the opportunity to socialize with my sister's friends down at Gallaudet, so that's a huge deaf community within itself that I had the opportunity to do that. If I ever want to move down there. This is a picture of Doreen Swift, who's an interpreter, and I had the opportunity to interpret her card making class, but when the women were there to, do their card making by themselves and Doreen didn't have anything to say, had the opportunity to engage in conversation with them and just build a connection with them that way. Hardest lessons. Accepting failure and having to move on from it. When you do something crappy, you literally think about it, or at least I do. Think about it non-stop. Like, oh my goodness, I just sucked so bad, and that's all I can think about. And I need to put that to the side and move on. And it's a learning lesson, and yeah. And crappy days will happen to all of us, even seasoned interpreters. It happens, and you have to just accept the fact that they will. For whatever reason, if it's because of the environment, if it's because you're thinking about something else, whatever it is, it's gonna happen. And my best memories, as Heather and Amber both mentioned, my mentorship group was just phenomenal. I had the support of 3 other Hika students, plus 2 RIT students, and since I was in Rochester, they had more access to opportunities for me to complete my internship and to get involved with the deaf community there. One of my best and worst memories combined was my Gallaudet class that Devin and I both interpreted. It was a voicing opportunity for us. So I already know that's something that I need to work on, so I accepted the challenge because I wanted to challenge myself. And we got to the class, and obviously, since they're native signers, they're sending fairly fast, which is not something that I usually worry about when I'm just trying to sit there and communicate with them, but trying to do the interpreting process in my brain and voice it at the same time, that was very tough for me. And we were voicing, and sometimes I literally could only say one word. That's all I got. Out of the entire 2 sentences that he just signed, one word. That's all I got. And so I was like, so frustrated with myself. But other times I said great sentences with high registered vocabulary, like, holy cow, where'd that just come from? And at the end of the class, the girl who we were voicing for came up to us and said, thank you. And I looked at her and I go, I don't know what you're thanking me for, that was terrible. And she told me, no, it's the fact that if you weren't here, I would have continued to do my homework wrong for the rest of the semester. And I was just like, wow, even though I did crappy, I still helped this girl out with her class. And so that just made me get my confidence back from the crappy day that I just did. Disney was fun, and Cinco de Mayo was great. Heather invited us over to her house, and she told us to bring 5 words that had 10 letters or more, and we had to fingerspell them to each other, but we weren't given any content up to what the word had to do with. So it's literally like, celebration, here you go. Togetherness, here you go. Whatever. And some of them were pretty tough words. Like, I don't even think I could say it if I saw the word on a piece of paper. So, my advice: accept the fact that you're gonna have to drive, unless you're doing it at one place. But most of us did it with freelance interpreters, and I know I'm not a huge fan of driving, but I had to get over that. Start observing interpreters now. I mean, next semester you have still classes. Get your butt to Rochester and observe them, because it will only help you in the end of what you want to see and what you don't want to see and what you want to do in your internship and what you don't want to do. You are in charge of you, as Brian likes to say. You really are. This is your internship. I know Chris told me, she goes, it's yours, do what you like. Come back and tell me that you learned something so that I can, show Brian that you did something. But it really is, it's what you make out of it and what you want to get from it, which is, the whole internship. And why that says no lime green background is because Heather and Chris both hate looking at that. And they told me to never send that to any other interpreters either, because they want to rip their eyeballs out and never put them back in. And
Well, just tell us what background you want. You know it can be done, though. Have you seen Michael's?
Yeah, I'm sure the attacking giraffes was not helping.
Got one lime green. We got boxing kangaroos. All kinds of fun stuff.
And the last thing is to just have fun.
I guess you did say.